Not having that many. Okay, are you ready, Doug? We're gonna go ahead and do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any minutes, Ellen? One set. Okay, thank you. I have for the commissioners meeting on April 15th, 2025, to have a motion to approve. Motion to approve the minutes. Second. Okay, that being said, all those in favor? Aye. Okay. Thank you. Okay, any, what we got, reports,
I have none.
okay. Correspondence?
I have none.
Oh, we're doing good. Okay, and then calendar review?
Thursday, 1:30 survey review. Commissioner Haggerty Friday. Monday, I have Parks, Recreation and Trail Commission meeting at 6:30.
Anything else, commissioners? Commissioner, Doolittle?
I have a Many Rivers Health meeting in Great Falls at 10 on Monday.
Okay.
And I think I have a Board on Aging meeting next Thursday at 9 o'clock. I think there's a budget meeting and then a board meeting.
Thursday? At what time?
9 o'clock is the budget meeting, 10 is the board meeting. For the aging board, it's 10 o'clock on the other one on next Monday.
Area 4 Agency on Aging.
Pardon?
Area 4 Agency on
Yep.
Aging.
That's next Thursday.
You good, Helen?
Yep.
Mr. Kirsch?
All right, tomorrow I have the privilege of being on jury duty, so I'll be upstairs most of the day tomorrow,
Come on.
unless I get dismissed. Clancy Water Sewer tomorrow evening at 6:30.
Oh, I didn't scroll down.
What's that?
I didn't scroll down far enough.
Yeah, that one's a little late. Then Rocky Mountain RMDC board meeting Thursday afternoon at 3:30. Yep. All right, do we need to have Shane look at our calendar? So ours is up on yours again? It seems like,
I'm actually able to look at the commission calendar. Normally I can,
okay,
but I don't have your personal ones. It'd be
Okay.
nice if they would all, somehow we had one calendar where if you guys put something in your personal calendar, it would suck it into the.
I will
Big
just start
calendar.
putting them in there and we'll see, because I also have a meeting at Ash Grove next Wednesday at 3:30.
yeah, we should get with Shane and figure that out. We used to have a commission calendar and I would pick red or whatever, and it would show up on the commission calendar as red, and we all have our own colors, and just the general meetings were green or whatever. So
Yeah.
Sometimes mine do that and sometimes they don't.
you're right,
So that's, I just,
Sometimes Outlook will do it and sometimes it won't.
really.
I've got like 5 different calendars and he said, close out and get back in and it might work, or
yeah,
he said it's just.
Yeah, it's pretty random. when you-
Yeah, there's
if it
one of
works.
them. One of them I can color code and the other one I can't.
Mm.
So,
I use Helen's, whatever one that is. I
I
don't
think
know.
it's an Outlook.
Microsoft or
and then it
something.
looks like I'm at every meeting. Everything is my meeting, mine, because that's the only one I can see most of the time.
And I think that was all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, let's go ahead and go with, commission reports, Commissioner Doolittle.
Tuesday, the 15th, at a museum board meeting, we discussed their abatement of their lead and asbestos. That has been completed. The Old Red Schoolhouse Foundation is getting bids to spend out the remainder of the budget for outside doors, hallway drop ceiling, and windows, depending on how much money they end up with. They asked about radon. I spoke with Pat about that. I'll get with Megan and we'll get them something. But that'll be up to the foundation, I believe, to take care of that if they want to mitigate it.
Yep.
The budget looks good. They asked about budget cuts in the coming year, told them we won't know until we do the meetings. They said, Humanity Montana is closing down and they did a lot of talks in the school about history in Jefferson County, a bunch of other things. So they're looking at some ways to get some speakers to kind of fill that gap, and they're redoing their website. 417 Mental Health Local Advisory Committee. We got a new resident, his name's Kurt. He's a licensed clinical social worker in the area. He showed up, wanted to know if he could help. So everybody had several suggestions for him. And that was talked about for a while. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we talked about ways to get that message out and to the public. Pam spoke about the Sims mapping that was done, had a lot of good data and info come out of that. And survey review on 417, where we had several boundary relocations and a retracement survey.
Mr. Kirsch.
All right, 416 of last week, JLDC board meeting. Gary Carlson resigned off the board. Stu Goodner also resigned off the board due to health reasons. Gary got off just because he can't hear anymore. He's really struggling hearing. At the meetings, he can't hear anything. It's hard to be part of a conversation you can't hear. So we're gonna have Gary's position to fill, and then Stu as vice president of the board, so we'll have to nominate a new vice president for that board. Waiting for the governor to assign authorization for the hub zone status. I guess that's the last hurdle to get kind of that Whitehall area into that hub zone. Keith Foley knows more about that. It gives us benefits if it gets designated as a hub zone, that we get different bid status or something. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it would help us with the economic development down in the Whitehall
And the
area.
funding and stuff too.
Yeah, federal funding. JLDC is returning their county-owned car, which I didn't even know they had a car, but they do have a car, and they're gonna give it back. Aaron said it's got battery issues and probably due to some possible recall on the car. So once we get it back, I might have them at the shop go through it and we'll figure out what we're gonna do with it. I thought that might be a good thing to give to the extension office, since they're scratching for a vehicle, but when we see what it is and how much it's gonna cost to get it running, we'll figure that out. I guess I'll let you know when I get my eyes on it. Leah stated environmental justice grant is moving forward. Awards will be announced in June. We're still in the ranking, I guess. Whitetail Center, the Intermountain Health, physical therapy people, I thought had pretty much put their stamp on getting in there, but I guess they're still negotiating on rent. Sam's kind of keeping the doors open in this negotiating time. Somebody else comes in and wants it, they're gonna just go with whoever jumps on it first. So hopefully we get somebody in there soon. Let's see. CDBG, I'm trying to think what that, something block grant.
Community Development Block Grant.
Okay, that's one we've got ongoing with, it used to be YDI, now it's the Yellowstone Boys and Girls Ranch out there. We got everything inverted to Yellowstone Boys and Girls Ranch. I think it's a $500,000 grant for their second group home out there. And I thought that it was on hold, but I guess it's gonna move forward. They're possibly gonna break ground on that in May, so next month. So moving forward with that second group home, which is great. All right, let's see. That's not right. I had a TIPID board meeting. I forgot to change the date. This was last Thursday, I believe. We had TIPID board meeting. We transferred approximately $130,000 from the North TIPID into their rural maintenance district. So that kind of zeroes the TIPID account out, so we can pretty much retire that whole TIPID up there. It was good. Everything's good. But that gives the RMD some money to work on roads or whatever they need up there. So that was good. We had a presentation from HFI, the investors down in Whitehall, the wind generation guys. Leonard and Tom did the presentation. It looks like they're gonna push on a data center to start with. Energy project possibly forthcoming with that. They dropped off the battery backup for right now for some, I can't remember what the reasons were, something with Northwest Energy, but do you remember? I don't.
It was gonna be they were gonna do it because it would be a source of income. Because they could store energy that Northwestern could buy it from them, but. They took it off the plan, off the table for now because.
I don't know if they gave us a good reason why, but maybe they don't need it because they don't need funding now or something, and then was it the investors were coming in?
Something to do with, like lithium was part of it too, and the fires with lithium batteries. or
Oh, okay,
something.
maybe.
I think he mentioned something like that, and so.
Just the safety issue of it or something? Okay. So the battery backup portion's kind of off the table for now. The TIF decided to wait on the paving project until HFI gets a planning process started. Sounds like they're gonna hire Great West Engineering, which kind of overlaps with our, I'm not really our planners, but our engineers that are working on the project down there, so. So that'll be good to have Great West on with us and on with HFI. They're gonna try to get some kind of a site map brought up so we know what's going on out there. And where things are gonna go, possibly.
Commissioner, is there any potential for a conflict with Great West on that?
Not that anybody mentioned, I don't know. We had Great West do and I think Great West actually. Farmed that out, the compaction test for the pavement. I think, maybe we didn't have Great West do that, did we? I don't remember. Being the county's engineers, Great West. I think there could be some overlap there, but I can't see any conflict with that, but if you see something, let us know so we can.
Yeah, certainly. Well, Bill Lloyd's smart enough too. He's not
Right.
gonna miss that.
Yeah, I think if the engineer thought there would be some kind of conflict or even the possibility he would say something, but I think I could probably spot something too if it was coming down the rail. Let's see, we're still waiting on a market analysis for the county-owned warehouse out there. Really like to get that to GLDC somehow, so we're not such a mishmash of ownership out there. And GLDC will pretty much own everything on the Tippett district out there. They're working with the Golden Sunlight Mine to move the GLDC property boundary to encompass the existing well. When that's complete, they'll move forward with a water rights application. So right now we've got I think it's the well house and a lot, and the well's off of that to some degree, so we can't get property or can't get water rights on a well that's not on our property. So Sam's got Golden Sunlight trying to move that. I think they probably just put the well in the wrong place. I don't know what happened originally, but we don't know. We're still scratching our heads on that. So sounds like with a property boundary adjustment, get that well on GLDC property, then we should be good to move forward on that. Doesn't sound like it's a tough issue. We had a discussion about the fiber lease and who should be paying for it. Tippett pays for it now. JLDC thought they may pay for it. It's like 12 grand a year for the maintenance on the fiber line that runs, I think they said from Helena down to Whitehall and maybe even beyond that. So that allows us the right to use that fiber in the park there. So we were talking about longevity because when the Tippett disappears, somebody's gonna have to pay that 12 grand.
Right.
So, and I think we've got it figured out that is it the landowners association? What do you call that?
The tenants association
Tenants
or the RMD, one of those is gonna slowly take it on. As we near sunset.
So the tenants that within the Tippett would be paying into the RMD or the tenants association and then be able to pay that out. So, and that would be forever instead of the Tippett it's got an expiration date on it. So we don't want to put anything paying for that Tippett that's an ongoing thing because it's eventually going to go away. And I think Ginger and Ladana are working on the work plan, which is essentially, I guess, the budget for JLDC. And we didn't really have it. It's kind of a shot in the dark right now with this HFI coming in. We don't know if we're gonna need pavement. We don't know what's gonna happen, what's not gonna happen. So we're just gonna kind of put something together that covers all our bases and put that into the work plan. And I think that work plan comes to the commission, if I remember right, somehow, some way, but.
Yeah.
And I think that was all I had, Mr. Chairman, for
On the-
last week.
Industrial Park, Mr. Kirsch. Are the presentations all done? Are they actually moving forward? Are they still giving presentations or are they just sort of sitting in limbo waiting for the next step to move forward or?
I think they're working on funding right now, funding and planning. I think they're getting with Great West to get a plan set up, like how are they gonna do this? Or the data center gonna be here and when it's gonna be here and. You know, how are they gonna lay this thing out and what's it gonna cost? And I mean, I think they're still just doing
Okay.
the engineering on it right now, so.
Are
But I
they-
think it's moving forward.
Okay, so they're determined to try and get it done.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
I didn't know if because of costs or anything, you know, how that can come.
Right,
come
no,
into
they
play,
seem
so.
to be full
Okay.
bore forward right now.
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir.
And I guess you'll cover the road meeting we had this morning. And
Yeah, I
everything
can,
worked
unless
out.
I missed something, either one of you can, but, I didn't have much, I got lucky this last week, all basically with Tuesday, the DUI task force, they went over which, they, went through their agreement again, that what they do with us as for the commissioners that we signed the DUI task force agreement. So they were finalizing that before it gets presented to us for finalization and signed. And then as for the library, which I met Thursday, they're looking at already working on the budget, so that was pretty much the importance to them. For their budget, that's for what it is. As for those, that was it. As for today, we met with the road crew with Bear. Constituent issues were the potholes. And in Montana City, they're grading various locations and they replaced the culvert in Warm Springs for the Forest Service. And then as for Boulder, they're grading the Amazon, Muskrat, Lower Valley. And then Whitehall are sweeping. And then the other thing of importance was, road crews in the process of smoothing out Corbin Road and then putting mag chloride on the roadway from Spring Creek to possibly up to the old mine. And, did I miss anything other than that training?
Well, I think they're gonna do some mag chloride in sections. They're not gonna do.
Oh, they're
the
gonna do
whole
sections?
thing. Yeah, because I'm not
Okay.
sure how it's gonna turn out on that dust pods product. I think it's gonna be fine, but
Oh, just
I think they're gonna do from the pavement to the school bus stop and then any place where there's a residence right up next to.
Oh, okay.
The
I
driveways
I
are.
misunderstood. that
Yeah.
then, Okay.
They don't wanna do the whole thing and have a problem with it and then have to, react to it. We've had nothing but problems up there, so we're trying to be a little bit careful in what we do, so we don't have more problems. We don't need more problems up there.
Well, thanks for the clarity. Then thereafter, we met with Dodge from Disaster Emergency Services. And he went over what's going on in the upcoming months that we could be foreseeing as for the way the weather might present itself as such and just to be prepared. And what currently is going on up to later, probably this summer. Is there anything else I missed on that?
I don't think so. Doug kind of gave us an overview of what he's been doing and what he's been
Dry,
working
but
on.
not really dry.
Yeah, that's the best way to put
You're a
it.
meteorologist too?
I wear a lot of hats.
He was showing these maps, so I'd say he's pretty close to a meteorologist. One thing that we should probably clarify, Mr. Chairman, is that we're gonna go to a once a month road meeting
Oh, yeah,
instead of every week, so we're gonna try to do it on the first Monday or first Tuesday of every month. And then in between as needed, but I think our first road meeting in May will be on the 13th, since they have something
yeah, we got that meeting with
colliding with it on the
DES
6th.
then.
Yeah, and they have training out there.
Oh, that's
so
right.
Our next road meeting will actually be May 13th. We won't have one next week or
Correct.
following week. I don't think so.
I don't know. Okay, outside of that, that's all I have. Now is the time for the opportunity for public comment. Teresa, I see you out there. How are you today? You have anything for the better of the commission?
No, just in the middle of my quarterly, so. Just trying to get it done before next week when it's due. Other than that, no, I don't have much.
And your Mother's Day pancake breakfast is still moving forward?
Yes,
Okay.
I've not been involved with that. This year I've got some personal issues I'm dealing with and, I believe it's the 10th of May is when it's scheduled for, so.
Okay. And that's what, 8 to noon or something like that?
Yeah, I believe so.
I got you covered. It's 8 to noon.
Thank you.
Okay.
I got a question for Teresa. Have you heard anything about any funding problems with the feds dropping down on a lot of their grant funding. Is that gonna affect you at all? Have you noticed anything or heard anything?
I have not heard of anything yet. I know they cut our funding. But this was prior to the new administration coming in. Um, so it was something to do with our figures from 2 years ago. And, so it had nothing to do with, all these latest drastic cuts, but, it wouldn't surprise me. Everybody else is getting an axe, so why not us?
Yeah, hopefully not.
Yeah, I hope not. I think we're gonna be on target to make it through this fiscal year without actually having to ask for additional monies. So I'm feeling really good about that, hopeful
Good.
and everything. And we did get a nice donation from the Elkhorn Medical Center for 1,500 last week to help out.
Very nice.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you still got your driver up here, right, for Boulder?
Yes, sir. She's keeping pretty busy. We hired her on with a guarantee of 12 hours a week. And I think there's only been a handful of weeks that I've actually had to add to her payroll to make that 12 hours accurate, because she's been so busy that it's not been needed.
Anyone else? I know you're chomping, but nothing? There, you go.
6 minutes.
Yeah.
My daughter's right in the middle of the crucible today.
Oh, she's about ready to graduate then. Assuming she makes it through the crucible,
You know,
just
started
48 hours of hell.
Oh.
started yesterday morning at 2 o'clock, Monday morning at 2 o'clock in the morning and.
Get
she'll
out
be
of
done
bed.
tomorrow morning. Hopefully she'll be complete tomorrow morning and she'll be a Marine.
She know where they're stationed yet?
She thinks Virginia,
Hmm.
probably. She's hopefully gonna be in intelligence if she can get her security clearance. Most of that stuff's back east.
Well, they gave me the security clearance, so your daughter probably won't have a problem.
We've got a foreign exchange student right now, so they kind of like zeroed in on that. Like, where's she from? What's she doing there? All the questions that go along with that. Yeah, interesting.
So when's graduation?
What is it? May 8th and 9th? I think 9th's the actual graduation, 8th's the family day. So I'm gonna fly down there on the 7th. Be back on the 11th, I think.
So they're going through the crucible now.
Yeah, they got a week. I don't know what they do for that week between.
Continue to get yelled at, probably.
Probably so. Yeah. But yeah, she seems to be doing good. She's getting challenged. A lot of old habits getting beat out of her, I'm sure.
Me not being in the Marine Corps, what's Crucible? Is that like your competence, like, the Air Force, it was a competence course?
No, we didn't have it when I went through.
Oh.
It came in after the commandant, who was, I think, when I was in, of course, I don't remember his name, but I think he was around for another 4 or 5 years, but he did some change-ups to Marine Corps, basic training, and the Crucible is it's about a 24 or 30 hour,
It's like 48 hours.
48-hour course that basically pushes you to your limits. You really don't get much sleep. I think you do land navigation, you do simulated firefights, you do like field problem solving, medical, carry your buddy out of the firefighter, how do you stop a sucking chest wound type thing? I got asked that question in a promotion board one time. They said, if you were in the middle of a firefight and came across somebody with a sucking chest wound, what would you do? And I said, I'd grab his ammo and keep on fighting. And go back and check on him.
You wouldn't take the outside wrapper off your pack of unfiltered Camels and slap it on there first?
The answer is to take some plastic,
Put a cigarette in his mouth and move on.
take his ammo and keep on fighting. But yeah, so it's, I've seen videos of it. It's pretty intensive. But if you made it to that point, you're gonna make it.
It's kind of the culmination of all our training for the last 8 weeks or whatever it is, yeah.
Good times. Everybody should do it.
Everybody should do it, yeah.
At least once, right?
Her last letter said some of the ladies were getting in fistfights in the shower room last. That doesn't surprise me.
No.
Clothed or unclothed.
Cooped up together for 8 weeks.
Yeah, yeah, very tired and very hungry all the time, yeah. That wouldn't take long to eat on you.
We never had any fights in my platoon.
We didn't have a whole lot of them, but some.
We had one guy,
I got in where they could still smack you around and get away with it, even though they weren't supposed to. So we didn't have a lot of fights that were between us.
yeah, if I were gonna have a fight with one fellow, our platoon leader was a black guy from New Orleans. And some country bumpkin from Arkansas or Texas or somewhere that did not have an affinity for black people. And he called me in word to his face one day, and I'm like, okay, this is gonna go down. But the drill instructor right there over here, and we have one drill instructor who's a black guy. It didn't bode very well for that young man.
I'm sure.
I had a pretty good friend that was from Boston, and it took me 4 weeks to figure out what he was saying. It was a whole nother language.
She started out with 80 some in her platoon, and I think they're down in the 40s now.
Wow, that's a huge.
Dumped about half of them through.
Hmm.
She got to call me in the middle because she was in the infirmary or whatever, because she had pneumonia, strep throat, and an ear infection all at the same time. All the sickness was running through the base, and just, yeah, she had to take a couple days of light duty just to recover and get some meds in her, and yeah. But she got back on her feet and brushed herself off, and away she went.
There you go.
Can't remember how many we lost. We probably lost about 10 or 15% right at the beginning that couldn't pass the initial PFT. And they got sent to the physical conditioning platoon.
Yeah. That's what Kinsey said. I can drop out anytime, but that didn't do me any good because all I do is start over with the next platoon. So doesn't give you very good. I don't get to just go home. No, you get to sit there until the next platoon comes in, then you start all over. So pretty interesting.
Yep.
Well, I did confirm with Ginger that.
The room's okay in the morning.
Yep.
Oh, you can get in, but we can't, huh? See how we are. Something going on in the afternoon, Ginger, on that day? Counting ballots. Gotcha.
There's about 2,600 that went out for Montana City School and just under 400 for Cardinal.
Just saying.
We're gonna start counting at 3. It's gonna start at 1, but I just changed it to 3. We'll be done by 4:30, but we have to stay till 8.
Is there any bond issues on those ones?
Not bond issues, but they are, Montana City is asking for 2 different levies. A
Okay.
technology fund levy and a general fund levy.
Steve, that's your neck of the woods.
Yeah, I know.
And it's yours.
Did you?
I got it
receive that?
today.
Did you? Oh, you got the
No,
ballot.
yeah, I haven't checked mail, we didn't check mail.
Okay, moving along then, it's 2 o'clock, public hearing, discuss and decide on expenditure of Title III funds. Did you want to come up here, Doug, or?
Whatever you would like.
Yeah, up here, please.
Going to public hearing, you announce that you're opening the public hearing.
Oh, thank you.
We'll get you trained up.
Okay, okay. So, at this point, we're going to open up for a public hearing in regards to this issue again and discuss and decide on expenditure of Title III funds.
Yep, perfect.
Thank you.
Just so here, Helen, here's that opening the public hearing.
Oh, gotcha.
All right.
Well, commissioners, I'm bringing before you an opportunity for us to expend some Title III funds. Title III funds, as you're aware, are Commissioner Kirsch is probably more familiar with the specific definition of them, but I know they're related to the Secure Rural Schools program, which is essentially unpaid taxes from federal land, as I understand it, in the county. There's some very specific items that we can spend that money on. And from what I understand, there's a fund balance left on that. And one of the gaps that we've identified over the years is perhaps acquiring a thermal drone in order to primarily serve as a supplement to search and rescue activities, but also be able to use them during wildfire response, specifically trying to find hot spots that can be challenging at times. And with thermal capability, it would enhance that by quite a bit. It would be a tool that we could use in multiple other ways. But specifically when it comes to hazmat spill investigation, we could go out and look at something before we put people at risk. Likewise, you could do the same thing with, if you have a law enforcement situation, you could go out and see what you're going into before you go into it. And then we oftentimes do get people, especially on a forest, seems like in the last few years, people like to come and try to hide in Jefferson County in the forest when they've escaped from someplace else, thankfully, not us, but that would be a very useful tool for us to be able to use for that. And then also event security overwatch for specifically when we have large events, for security purposes, keeping an eye on things. And then can also be used for routine things like infrastructure inspections or mapping or anything like that. So, very useful tool. We did put the notifications out via the requirements of the Secure Rural Schools Act. So it was published in the paper. It was also on the county website for the requisite number of days, which and requesting $15,000 to expend funds on these on a thermal drone. And I would be happy to answer any question you may have.
You have to have a license.
Yes, yep, you have to have a license, and which I've already got one. Well, I have one. Ben Fox has one, and then we're working on getting other folks in the class. We've actually created a kind of a nice pipeline into Montana Department of Transportation. They have a drone program. And their manager he teaches the 107 courses. That's part 107, FAA part 107 classes. That's the license that you have to have. And he's offered through some mutual connections. I made he's offered to teach whoever we wanted to send up when he's having a class. He doesn't do it on a specific schedule, but when they're training MDT folks, he said, send your folks up here. We'd be happy to help. He doesn't administer the test. That's an FAA test that you actually have to go to an approved facility. In this case, we go up to Great Falls to take the test. And it's like $100 to take the test, and then you have to renew it every 2 years. So you have to keep understanding of FAA policy, procedure, rules and regulations. As I understand it, I'm not a private pilot, so I don't know, but he said the Part 107 test puts you about 85% of the way to getting your pilot license if you wanted it, which I'm not interested in.
You're not buying a plane.
I am definitely not, yeah, we're not gonna ask for a plane, but, it is a very interesting course. It's, very beneficial and some things you don't learn about until you take that, obviously, but specifically with regard to airspace regulation and who owns the airspace, right? There's always that question folks come up with is, the privacy question, right? That's always one of the big concerns and the FAA regulates navigable airspace, kind of like we talked about with navigable waterways, but the FAA has the authority, jurisdictional authority over navigable airspace, not states, not local jurisdictions, it's the FAA. So we have to follow those regulations, pilots do, and they're very prescribed. It's pretty specific with what you can do, what you can't do, and super important for in a commercial application, which we would be, granted, we're a government agency, but because of how the law is written, we have to adhere to their requirements. So I've developed some standard operating procedures and policy with regard to drone operations. And this is gonna be housed in my office, and I'm gonna have those procedures in place, and anybody that wants to be a pilot for the program is gonna have to follow those, so.
You
Anyway.
answered my question, that first one, where it was gonna be, and then
Mhm.
who would have access to it? Only those that have that license, right?
In order to fly,
In order-
correct.
I mean,
That's-
even to gain access to it.
Well, to gain access to it, we'll go whoever asks, right?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I meant within your entity or.
Correct, yep, they have to, it will be under lock and key, and access through my office. And you can have folks that aren't 107 licensed fly it, as long as the 107 license is standing right next to them and able to take over immediate control of the aircraft. That's the FAA rules, because you still want to be able to train people, especially if you want to get interest. In my opinion, we want to expand that capability, have more than just one or two people that can fly it. And we have folks that are interested, and so we want to be able to maintain that, but at the same time, we have to be very careful about that certification, because 107 licenses the requirements for that are very strict, and you have to be careful, so rightfully so. Make sure people are doing that correctly. So yes, it's gonna be in my office. They have to go through me to get it, or the next person that's sitting at my desk, whenever that comes through, so. Not that I'm interested in going.
How many more counties have a drone right now, do you know?
Some do, yep. I modeled some of my my policy and programmatic stuff there's several out in eastern Montana that have them. Not quite so much here, more agency specific out here. MHP of course has them, but Helena Fire Department has them. I've reached out to quite a few of those agencies to look at their policies to see what it always makes sense to me to not reinvent the wheel and make sure what works and for us. So not typically the county level, but more agency specific.
What kind of distance can you get on the thing? I mean, can you sit here and go up to Elkhorn or something with it? Or?
Well, yes and no. They have the capability, but FAA requirements require that you maintain line of sight with the aircraft. So you can't just take off and fly, which that's one of the common misconceptions with drones, and it's one of the benefits of the 107 classes that teaches you about that stuff. Even if you go buy one as a private citizen just to use recreationally, you still need to have line of sight to the aircraft that you're using. And so while they can do that, and people unfortunately do, because it's unsafe, right? You can't see what's coming, and it is up to the drone pilot to make sure you're lowest on the totem pole when it comes to airspace deconfliction. So if a helicopter comes in, if aircraft come in, it is my job as the 107 pilot to avoid any of that airspace. Likewise, operations over people is another example. You cannot operate a drone directly over a population where if something happened, it fell, it could hurt somebody. That's a very specific requirement in Part 107 guidelines. So another thing that, private citizens often, you'll see them out, and those are actually airspace violations. So you have to be, those types of things that's why it's really important to maintain our 107 licenses to make sure we're staying up on all the regulations for that.
What kind of flight time do you get out of this thing?
They are, well, with batteries, they say advertise somewhere around 40 minutes, but it really is dependent upon conditions,
Yeah.
temperature. Will affect those pretty substantially. And then if you have payloads, what I'm considering or looking into options for are obviously the thermal cameras that's integrated into the unit. But one of the other options that I've seen is they have one that has actually a speaker that you can mount on it. So if you find somebody, you can say, hey, stay right here, we're coming. Obviously it's one to raise your right hand if you're feeling, if you can't move, or it doesn't allow two-way conversation just because you couldn't pick it up over the sound of the rotors. But regardless, payloads like that will, adding weight obviously is gonna decrease. And then of course, if you have wind, that's gonna decrease. So 40 minutes, I think, is perfect conditions. I think it's probably more likely around 25 minutes or so.
Good.
But you want to be able to, and that's one of the reasons this was written is as it was. We want to make sure we get batteries right that we have on hand, which aren't cheap, but to be able to maintain flights when you need to bring it back, get a new battery and go back up.
Can you put a rocket launcher on it?
What's that? No, you may not. That is specific actually to my, it is that's one of my specific policy guidelines is no weaponization of the aircraft. So,
Do that.
but
then
that-
go over and help the Ukraine.
yeah, that's actually and that's an FAA thing, but everybody, if you look at everybody's guidelines or policies, I should say, it's interestingly enough, that is one of the line items on there is no weaponization of the aircraft, which we wouldn't want to do. Yeah, which we wouldn't want to do, but, I think it would be a powerful tool, and it fits in well in my opinion with the Title III funding, because Title III funding of course is tied to things, especially emergency response on federal ground. And this, in my view, fits that well.
Yeah, I think, I've seen at least one story of a drone finding somebody lost like a child or something in this forest or whatever, and that's what they found the child with, and they may not have found them otherwise, so. I think that would have a great benefit, especially it seems like we're out all the time looking for people in our woods here.
Yep.
Well,
That's
it's
why,
a hell of a lot cheaper than aircraft, Tom, too.
Much
Yeah.
cheaper, quicker to deploy. It doesn't, and I will say it doesn't, it in no way replace a search and rescue. You still need to have the
Oh,
people
yeah.
on the ground,
Yeah.
obviously, to go help that person. But it is a great, huge, in my opinion, augmentation of that work. So, I think it's a neat opportunity. I know, and I appreciate the support. We've used the Title III funds over the years and try to leverage these in ways that we ordinarily wouldn't be able to afford something like this, or be able to access. So I think it's a pretty neat opportunity. And
For the one that you're looking at, is this one of them that would last a while, so to speak?
yes, as with any electronics, we never know. We can't get one that is China-based, right? That's one of the primary, needs to be an American-based software specifically. And so, but I have narrowed it down as far as when you look at the capabilities that we're looking at, and there's some pretty good products out there that I think we'll have an opportunity to get with, we will want to, and I'll talk to, I spoke to Ginger about this earlier with regards to insurance on the unit. I turned in my pilot's license to her. I think that was one of the requirements that they had. And then whenever we would get it, we would just add it to the county insurance. I believe that you looked into that. Sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah, we just have to add it to our list, like we already approved.
Yeah. Because crashes happen, there's no doubt about it, so.
This one's probably got software to kind of keep it out of trouble.
It does, that's one of the incredible things about these units anymore is, I'm not a video game guy, and so those of us that are probably better at flying them, but their obstacle avoidance is pretty impressive, with, especially in these types of units, they have cameras and they sense to not run into things. Of course, there's limitations to everything. It, it might be a branch or something that they might not see, but also, part of that is just making sure you have flight time in it. And that's also part of my policies. You're gonna have to practice with this. Anybody that has access, it can't just be something that you open up once a year, because it's a tool you have to be proficient at, because it's a skill, and then you also have the software side of it, right? And who among us can operate software if we only dig into it once a year? So, so that's an important component to that.
Anything else? Anybody? Any questions from anybody?
Now you close the public hearing.
Now, this concludes the public hearing in regards to this on expenditure of the Title III funds.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve the funds for this expenditure for the drone for DES department.
Okay, I have a motion to have a second.
Second.
Yeah, all those in favor?
Aye,
Alright.
that's it.
Thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate that.
You probably want to, because I suspect the coverage that they're like, we're just adding a piece of equipment, it's probably basically the whole coverage.
Right.
Be interesting to see it in operation in many ways.
Not that this is gonna happen, but if you crash this thing into somebody's house or something like that.
Right, liability.
I think our liability should cover that, but we might want to. Get your. Like Carol calls football game. Chinese bootleg start crashing into the crowd.
Right, yeah. I'll get with you, Ginger, on that. Cause I'm sure that there's some questions.
So did this already go through that publication on the
Yes.
paper? I was catch all with the plan.
Yes.
Please.
And then you have to submit,
Report.
do you do that or do I do that or, okay,
Ginger and I usually
okay.
figure that
I
out.
just wasn't sure what you needed from me. I'll
It's
see.
February, end of February or something, let's do.
Yeah, and that way if all that documentation stuff's with the plan. I mean, they never ask anything afterwards, after we submit it, but. just makes it
You
easier.
just have to, absolutely, yep. Okay.
Anything else? Not, this concludes today's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll end the meeting. Thanks, Teresa. Have a good day.